Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Dr. Robin Titus joins us. She's a Nevada State Senator, and she's here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. And University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, offering the highest level of care in Nevada.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always pleased to welcome back to the program Dr. Robin Titus. She is a state senator, Republican of District 17. Pleasure to have you back on the program.
Well, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So you were at the state caucus meeting in Winnemucca. Share with us what went on.
Yes, it was very interesting. I've been a strong member of our Republican Party, obviously since I could register to vote back a long time ago. In Winnemucca, I was the only elected statewide official there. There was nobody from the governor's office, none of the executive members of our government. There was no other senator or assembly person there. And the vote was to whether or not to support a caucus primary, presidential caucus primary, or support what the Democrats had voted for, which is to do a presidential primary. And the vote, we had a very good discussion, heated at times, but everybody's voice was heard, unlike previous caucuses I've been to, caucus meetings. And the vote was to have the primary presidential caucus, not the primary vote. And although I stood up and voiced my concerns about it, I agreed that whatever that vote was, that's what we had to move forward. My concern was, if you've read anything about the new push from the Republican Party about bank your vote, we had just pushed out this initiative about bank your vote, getting people to vote early, getting people to vote mail-in, getting people, if they're not comfortable with the mail, to drop off their ballot early.
Okay, which is completely different from the way Republicans were thinking.
Completely different. But what happened last election cycle, most Republicans are traditional. They want to vote on the day of the election. Adam Laxalt lost by 10,000 votes. That many people stayed home that day because we had a snowstorm in northern Nevada. And so we had to change our thinking about that. And so my concern was, we've just launched that, but yet now we're telling people not to trust the mail ballots and don't vote in the presidential primary. Certainly see the argument and support what the vote was to hold the caucus, because it's something that we still have control over. There's huge pushback in the Republican Party. The Democrats have controlled how we're voting. I, for one, preferred the primary process where everybody could vote, because to me, it actually gives us a better idea about what's going to happen in the general election. Although they're closed primaries, correct, when you have the presidential caucus, it's really a limited time slot, limited people can get there, and I get that they want the most committed Republicans to show up. I understand that process, but frankly, there's people who won't be able to vote that are going to vote in the general election, and by having the caucus, we just aren't going to get a good picture of who they support.
Well, the other thing I don't like about a caucus is that you have to publicly show who you're supporting, that you have to join that group.
No, that's kind of a misunderstanding. In the past, the Democrats actually did that. The way they did, and frankly, I was always excited about the caucus, and in the past, I was chair of our Central Committee, and I actually went with my Democrat counterpart into the schools to educate folks on what the caucus process was. And indeed, you can stand up and advocate in the Republican caucus for your candidate. But what the Democrats had you do was go stand in the corner of the room or in separate sections of the room and argue for your candidate. That is not the case at all. You can actually go in the Republican caucus right now, and I encourage everybody to please vote in the caucus if you are a Republican. And you can go, you don't have to stay for the whole caucus process. You go in, you check who you want, put it in the box, and you can walk out. And so it's a private vote. Now the vote count is very public. So the count is there, but you don't know who voted for what candidate.
Okay, well, I'd be far more comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Because I've never been to a caucus just because I thought that I would be identified.
No, you can certainly stand up and argue for a candidate. There's no question about that and why you would support that candidate. But when it comes to casting your ballot, you come in, you're handed a ballot, you show identification, you vote for who you want to, and you don't have to stay. You cast your ballot, and you can go home.
All right, so it seems that the Republicans are dividing themselves for no good reason when there is great opportunity for Republicans, certainly in Nevada, and yet now you have this primary and the caucus and the we have a hard enough time getting people to vote in the first place, and I think you're going to agree with me. You want to get if you don't like the way the rules are, unless you're in the position of power to change those rules, you have to figure out how to utilize those rules to your best use, not just say, I'm going to take my ball and go home. So it seems like the Republicans need to do more of that than they have been doing in the past.
Right. We have a big job on educating the voter to get up to show up that this caucus process is their chance to voice a concern. If they don't like the caucus process, which I personally, I'm not a fan of, but I showed up in Winnemucca to voice my concern. People have to get engaged if they want to make change. And the only way you're going to make change is, as you said, you have to show up to be part of the process. And so I look at being a part of the solution, not part of the problem, and showing up is the key. In the caucus process, you get a chance to actually start the whole platform and the planks of where the party stands. If you're not happy with what we're doing, then you need to be there at the caucus where you can express your concerns, become a part of your central committee, get involved with that. Only take back what you feel you need to have and control of. And so, but you're right. If you don't show up, you can't do that. Just going and casting a ballot, mailing it back, you can vote for who you choose to be your candidate, but you're not having any control in the process of how we got there.
Well, it's going to be fascinating. I think a lot of people that go and vote in the Republican primary are going to be very disappointed when they find out that that actually doesn't count.
Right. The reality is, though, the good news is that you can actually vote in both.
You can.
The constituents can, the people can vote in both. So you get your presidential primary ballot, you can cast that ballot for the candidates that have filed. And there's about 5 Republican candidates on there. And a plethora of Democrats have filed. So again, it's a close primary, so Republicans, registered Republicans will get a primary ballot. You can cast that ballot. But then you can also be involved in the caucus process, which is interesting as all get out.
All right,
but here, the candidate can't be involved in both. The candidate can't be on both. So if the candidate has chosen to be in the primary process, they will not be allowed to be in the caucus process.
Okay. I don't have the ability to play back exactly what you just said there, but if I did, I think that you would shake your own head and go, What did I just say? Yeah. I mean, it just sounds like every nightmare that Republicans have been complaining about has just occurred within the Republican Party, which is of having these two different things.
It's very confusing. Our job, and one of the things when I left the Winnemucca and speaking to the folks who were really supportive of the caucus process, I said, hey, I will go out and I will do my best to educate the voter on what this process is about, because the
you're doing that here.
the concern I had was, again, we're trying to get them to vote. We're only going to change and take back. Everybody says, well, it's redistricting, you have to do this, you have to do that, take away, have voter ID. We can't do that unless we get back in the majority. And certainly we have to stay out of the superminority. We can only do that if Republicans absolutely show up. So many Republicans stayed home last time. And so for me, getting out and educating folks on this process, the presidential caucus versus the presidential primary is confusing. Our job to get out and educate the voter, happy to people take emails, phone calls to me to help educate the voter on the fact that I too was confused. I too thought that if you voted in the primary, you couldn't be part of the process of the caucus.
And you're one of the leaders of the Republican Party.
I had to have that
state.
clarified. I had to have that clarified to make sure that if you voted in the primary, you can go to the caucus.
All right. So is the Republican Party, the state Republican Party, going to spend money to market this?
Yes.
So that people
yes, they have
understand?
to. It's critical.
We
have a short window. We have only 4 months. It is right down. It's coming right down on us. It's like a rapid train that we're not going to stop, and we need to get out there because some of the candidates are going to play in the caucus. Some legitimate candidates are going to play in the primary. The problem is, though, what the reality is, people are going to vote in the primary, but the primary has no standing. The results of the primary has no standing.
On the Republican side.
On the Republican side. So none of those people who have chosen to be in the primary can be awarded any of our delegates. And our delegates in Nevada are proportional. It's not a winners take all in the caucus. So in the caucus process, we get 26 delegates to the National Convention, which is going to be in Milwaukee. We get 26 delegates. We have 23 alternatives. Our delegates are mandated to vote for, first round, to vote for the person that they've been assigned to from the delegate caucus process. So if somebody would have to win 4% of the vote in the caucus process to get one delegate at the National Convention.
Okay, so you're a fiscal conservative, correct?
Absolutely.
And yet, your party is going to be spending the most expensive money at a time when you should be using that money to support your candidates on explaining how to do something that really, I'm sorry, I'm playing devil's advocate here, makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. So thank you for actually pointing that out, because that was my concern too. But when I brought that up to our leaders in the party, they have assured me, and it's on record, we were at a Central Committee meeting and Jim Hindle and Jim DeGraffin were there. I asked these same questions for clarification because if I'm going to go out and advocate for it and support the party as I have agreed to do, and educate the voter, because I don't want it to fail because I didn't agree with it. We still need to be successful.
Sure.
Because my role is to make sure we stay out of the super minority and support our governor. And to do that, I need as many voters as possible. And so I asked that question. So how much money are we spending? Because the argument is that our Secretary of State and the Democrat Party is costing our state of Nevada and the taxpayers, literally they are, millions of dollars by holding this presidential primary. When frankly, the Republicans have figured out not to cost the taxpayers anything, not to cost the voter anything, and we're asking the candidate to pay for it. And that is where the fee is to these parties, up to $50,000, but $35,000 if the candidate agrees to hold a fundraiser here in Nevada with the party. That will offset, I've been assured that's going to offset the cost of the presidential caucus.
All right, so let me ask you this. Because it's obviously out there in the media, people are talking about it. The idea is that this is being put on as a caucus because it's basically rigging the vote for former President Trump. Do you agree with that statement?
No, I don't actually. What I think it is a pushback from Republicans saying the Democrats took this vote. And if you remember, caucus is pretty traditional in what we've done in Nevada, and there's good statistics on that. There's also, because I asked these same questions on the statistical turnout of the primary versus a caucus within less than 2%. So wasn't a major difference when we had a presidential primary versus a caucus. So that argument isn't good. But what a true argument is that the Democrats are the ones that forced this bill on us to have this presidential primary. It works for them. We as Republicans said, wait a minute, we can control this. Our own Supreme Court said, and the Secretary of State said, yes, we're going to have a presidential primary, but we cannot tell the parties not to hold this caucus. The party has some control over this, and we want to show folks that we can run an election process that is secure, that's efficient, that doesn't take a week to get the results, that you get an ID to vote. And so I think that to their credit, I think they're saying, let's hold this caucus and show how efficient it is, and it doesn't cost the taxpayers anything.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back with Senator Titus after this timeout.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Remember 2010 in Northern Nevada, 13 to 14% unemployment, thousands of homes in foreclosure, Nevada's casinos closing? Families in the Reno-Sparks area were hurting. Many were losing everything. Then Story County launched a game changer for our region, a public-private industrial partnership, streamlined permitting, slashed bureaucracy, attracting Fortune 500 companies that made Nevada their home. Story County generated a river of cash to area communities. Economic studies by the state and others for the Gigafactory consistently show positive economic benefits for our region. $4 billion in local wages, $17 billion in consumer spending and economic activity, over $100 million in taxes to Washoe, Story, Reno, Sparks, and Nevada, just for the Gigafactory alone. Story County, improving Northern Nevada one industry at a time.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
It's the $200,000 Cars and Cash giveaways at Carson Valley Inn. Cash and prize drawings Thursdays and Saturdays. Plus, win a 2023 Ford F-150 or we'll pay you cash instead. Don't miss your chance to play and win. Cars and Cash at the Carson Valley Inn.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Dr. Robin Titus. She is the state senator of District 17, a Republican. I've told this story several times on the program, and people are probably getting sick of it, but when I fly on an airplane and the flight attendant comes over to me and says, what would you like for dinner? And I say, I'd like the chicken, please. And they say, well, what would you like as your second choice? And I say, I don't want a second choice. I want my chicken. And now we have ranked choice voting. What's your thoughts on it?
Definitely not supportive of ranked choice voting. I think that it's kind of sets a precedent that's not acceptable for me, although we have some evidence of how it does and doesn't work. Alaska, for example, Sarah Palin would say that she lost because of it, but I think she lost because of her approach to it, where she told everybody not to vote for the other folks, and then of course the vote went to the Democrat way. I think ranked choice voting can cause a lot of problems where people that the top two vote getters don't necessarily win. The top two choices won't necessarily win, and I think that's unfortunate.
Well, also, I mean, we have enough trouble getting people to the polls to begin with. We have enough trouble getting people to vote down ballot They vote for the tops of the ticket, but they don't necessarily go down and vote. So we're just adding, it seems to me, more confusion to this.
Right, and I agree, and that down ballot issue is huge. And I've many a times when I've gone out and done not only the campaigning but supporting other candidates, the key is keeping people in that voter box, or keeping people to filling out their mail-in ballot and making sure they vote all the way down at the issue of school board members have gotten pretty hotly contested races.
I was about to go there.
And so, in the past, I've done 6 election cycles now, and in the last election cycle, the school boards were the biggest thing on the ballot, really. And so people hopefully stay in the ballot voting booth now longer. But again, for me, we need to have the Senate people elected. We need to have Assembly folks elected, and that you can only do that if you vote all the way down that ballot.
Right. And what do you think about what's going on with the school district in Douglas County?
Yeah, it's really a tough subject for me. I know all parties involved. I represent 6 different counties, and during the whole process of the election last cycle, I told everybody I was staying out of school board races. I was just felt each community needed to vote on what they felt was in the community. And right now in Douglas County, I have people on both sides reaching out to me about the school board issues.
And what are they saying on both sides?
Well, so on both sides, I have the school board members themselves and their supporters who just really believe they needed to get involved, that things were happening in Douglas County, especially outcome data that wasn't acceptable. I also have conservative Republicans on the side saying, hey, things were great in Douglas County. We have a great school district. Our outcome data was good. So both folks are saying on both sides, and they're both conservative Republicans. So it's interesting, and I think people need to circle back about what's best for the kids, what's best for the students of Douglas County. And at the last school board meeting they had, the students showed up, the parents showed up, and they said, wait a minute here. We like our superintendent. We like what's happening in our schools. We're not complaining here. And so I think that the new school board members had some things I absolutely agreed with. But the process is, when you go into a new job, you don't immediately throw out everything somebody did.
Right.
When you go into a new job, or you become a new leader, or you are starting up, the first thing you need to do is listen.
Yes.
And give it some time, and then really develop a strategy and see what you can fix, see what you can't fix. You don't go in and blow the whole thing up without having a community discussion. And I think that's what happened, and hopefully there's some clawback a little bit. They're going to sit back and digest it. I think they have absolutely some valid concerns. On the other hand, that people are going, well, wait a minute. You don't have to blow the whole thing up. There were things that worked in Douglas County.
So in a way, despite all the trouble, democracy is actually prevailing, and it's getting people to actually come out, people of goodwill, to come out and voice their opinions on either side of this issue.
Right.
So that in itself is actually a good thing.
Right, and when I say that, the school board members are duly elected officials. If you don't like what I have done, if you don't like what your elected official has done, then you need to go vote. You need to, that's the one thing, it's one of the many things wonderful about in America, is you get to vote. And school board members are elected. We have a new election cycle coming up. There'll be a new slate of candidates. If you don't like what one group is doing, for heaven's sake, support your candidate.
We'll be right back. Big R is Northern Nevada's #1 Golden Fire wood pellet supplier. More heat, less ash, 100% natural, and no additives. And there's only one place that stocks this many wood pellets, and that's Big R in Sparks, Winnemucca, Fallon, Fernley, and Lovelock. A river of wood pellets at Big R.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the do-it-right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
Fantastic cocktails and delicious food.
It's a good time to eat.
Over 500 hot slots, plus electronic table games.
It's a good time to play.
Player rewards and big-time jackpots.
It's a good time to win.
Ooh, your good time's a tamarack.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Dr. Robin Titus, the state senator. You had said during the legislative session that with Pete Goa-Kachia leaving, that you were going to do everything you could to learn as much as you could about water issues. How far have you gone in your education?
I speak to Pete a lot about that.
I'm sure you do.
And we speak on the phone a lot about water issues. And there's some water summits that he's invited me to come and attend. And I'm definitely doing my homework. We had some past legislation that he and I both co-sponsored on the management plans, 3M plans, to make sure they work. I'm the one that's going to be following through on those. I'm meeting actually in Douglas County with some folks about some water issues and flooding. Great association with past Senator Settlemyre, that's now in charge of the DCNR.
Right.
And I think that that's really important to stay in the process. Our water laws, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to cut you off here because we're running out of time, but I'm going to have you come back on. It was really a kind of fun question to ask you because water is such a huge issue in this state. And it's going to continue, and we always appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Event Center sits at the heart of the Las Vegas Strip. 2 floors of meeting and event space are ideal for groups and conventions. Stay in one of 200 luxurious rooms and suites. Brand your event throughout the property. Flexible event spaces make for easy planning and personalization. Take over the entire hotel with a full buyout option.
Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. And University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, offering the highest level of care in Nevada.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers. You can catch us online 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com, or you can download the podcast wherever you like to get your podcast. We'll see you on the next broadcast.